girls sitting at their home on their laptops watching Netflix and chill.
No chill.
No chill for your hormones. You have to understand that.
Don't spoil the set. I have been constant. Team has been constant.
Shogun is just distracting me, please.
That's my job.
Shogun, yaar.
I'm gonna look at the camera only. Welcome to Guts. Hello and welcome back to Guts, the Ayak podcast. I am your self-proclaimed favorite host, Shagun Arya, and we are back on this show with another guest who has never been on this show before. So, Saloni, welcome, and please introduce yourself to everybody.
Hello everyone, I am Saloni Kulkarni. I am the Chief of Client Services at iThrive and I head the nutrition team, and that's who I am over here.
That's who you are in general also. At iThrive, she's known as the Chief of Client Services. But today, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about hormones. Okay, so hormonal imbalance, everybody's talking about it. There's a lot of hormones, right? But is it like a buzzword right now, or does it actually have some science and meaning behind it?
Definitely, I would say it's not a buzzword, it's a real concern because with current lifestyles that we are living, the hormonal imbalances have become a very common word that people keep on using, and there's a foundation to it.
So, when should a woman actually take it seriously? Like, we're going to focus on women today because why not? About time. But when should a woman start taking hormonal imbalances seriously, and what are the signs towards it?
That's a wonderful question. Yes, often women think that it's a normal thing, but definitely it's not normal. If you are facing any kind of um, hormonal imbalances in terms of irregular periods, if you are experiencing heavy menstrual bleeding, which was not earlier, compared to it, if you're gaining weight, if there's underlying insulin resistance that you're facing, or you're craving for sugar, along with it, if you're feeling fatigue, tired, weakness throughout the day with unknown cause that comes in, along with it, it's your hair fall that is most common for women nowadays.
So, a lot of nutrient deficiencies could also be at play here behind all these symptoms that she's suggesting that women usually experience, right? And we brush it off. Ki ye to kuch nahi, maybe I'm just feeling it, maybe it's just a phase or whatever. But these could be serious signs of hormonal imbalances, right? But Saloni, I mean, I'm riddled by the fact now that if you look at it, young girls now they're getting diagnosed with PCOS more often, right? And they're having a lot of irregular cycles, and even menarche, which is the first menstrual cycle that a girl experiences, that is also getting earlier. So what could be the reasons behind it?
What is the concept of endocrine disruptors? Just to give you a brief, consider that estrogen is circular in structure, and these xenoestrogens are also circular in structure. Now, your body cannot distinguish between which is estrogen that your body requires and which is xenoestrogen that your body doesn't require. So it is a potential form of toxin. Now, from where is it coming inside our system? It's the plastic bottle that we use. It is the environmental pollution that we are exposed to. Everyone is. Further, it is as simple as the cosmetic products that we use, including the soaps that we have.
So all our personal care products, shampoo, soaps, even moisturizers if they have it, and all of that.
Even the lipsticks that we use, that also comes under it. It can be because of certain shampoos that we use, another potential form for your hair thinning. So we need to focus on eradicating this endocrine disruptors from our body. And now if you see youngsters, trust me, you tell me, Shagun, when was it like during our teenage that we were exposed to so much of things like keratin that you're doing for your hair, the makeup that you see. So social media has become like,
I didn't even know what these things were till the time I was probably in college or something. And if I would have mentioned these terms in front of my Punjabi mother, a flying jutti would have come on my face. कि Keratin कराना है तुझे, हाँ?
इधर आ, मैं कराती हूँ तेरा keratin.
Like, I will straighten your hair and your body right now. Come here.
So nowadays, if you see, girls, I would say, especially youngsters, are exposed to so much of social media things that they get into disrupting their body's normal physiology and structure, which is actually sad to see. And yes, this is what is our current lifestyle, and that is the reason why many young women are doing it.
So, of what I can make of it, these are all lifestyle induced factors, right? These are all in our environment, especially the xenoestrogens that you spoke about right now. This is present in our environments. I mean, people just simply drinking out of plastic bottles that they think are harmless, it's causing endocrine disruption in their system. So that's actually pretty alarming for anybody who thinks like these small habits can't make a difference in their lifestyle. It can. It can make a difference in your body as well. And speaking of lifestyle, like how has that changed the entire course of hormonal balances that we have? Like I remember if I spoke to my mother, I would ask her, when did you get your period? This was much later on in life, maybe like starting of college or towards the end of school. I got it towards the end of my middle school. So nowadays, so it's even earlier. So
Around the age of 10, I would say.
yeah, even earlier. So that is not a good sign, I'm assuming.
Definitely. And what's happening right now with the lifestyle is these kids are exposed to a lot of gadgets, I would say. Number one thing, where they have EMF exposures that can in turn harm your body's hormonal structures and the secretion of those hormones also. Another thing is the kind of food that they eat, highly junk, processed. You tell me, when we used to go to McD or Subways, right? It was just once in a while. But nowadays, if you see these youngsters, they often end up going over there. Their birthday parties are over there. I don't remember our birthday parties happening like that.
And I think a lot of this also has to do with I mean, we're living in an age of convenience, right? So it's become very convenient for everybody to go out for these outings, have a fast food, take a burger along, pizza, something of that sort. And even parents, I've seen a lot of times, which I don't think is very healthy. I've seen a lot of times parents, what they do is they take it as a reward system. Ach, you've done well, come, let's take you out for a burger or something. It's good to have rewarding mechanisms for the child, but give them healthier options for it.
So, if you remember, our childhood was all about playing on grounds, going out in garden, hanging around with friends, and just being physically active, right? But if you see these youngsters and young girls right now, they are constantly on their laptops, watching some series, watching Netflix, and they're completely engrossed in it. But they don't understand the impact that it's happening inside the body at a cellular level, where these EMFs are disrupting the hormonal signaling. So, yes, that is what is letting your hormones play a havoc inside the body.
Agreed. And I think because of all these disruptions that are happening externally, there are a lot of symptoms that people experience, especially girls when they are on their periods. Sometimes, very extremely, they experience mood swings or pain. Is that normal? Or is that something that should be a red flag technically?
Well, if it is mild symptoms, it is okay to have. But if you experience very severe symptoms like constant pain around your abdomen, stomach cramping, you have you're not feeling hungry, or if you're craving for something like which is very high in sugar or desserts of that sort, then definitely it is a red flag. Because PMS, even if we see it as normal, I would say it is not a normal occurrence, because it is showing you some signs and symptoms that your body is not working well and the hormones are not syncing up well. So, yes, it is a red flag, and one must always check for the symptoms. Even often nowadays, when we work around with clients, also, what we have seen is this extreme blood clots that comes up. So, clotting also, heavy clots are not that good for your body, because it is suggesting that there might be certain underlying issues like endometriosis, it might be uterine fibroids, or some kind of issues happening inside the ovaries structurally.
So nowadays, what we're also commonly seeing is that girls are experiencing very intense period cramps and mood swings and all the symptoms that come along with it, with periods and all. So is that normal, or is that supposed to be a red flag that we should be looking out for when it comes to our health?
Well, if it is mild symptoms that can be bare, then it is actually a normal occurrence. But if someone is experiencing heavy blood clots or heavy menstrual bleeding along with it, if they have heavy cramps, and they just can't move around, then definitely it is a red flag, which might be attributing to certain underlying conditions such as endometriosis, uterine fibroids, or underlying PCOS. So, yes, it's a red flag.
So speaking of PCOS, I think we've spoken about this statistically also. We've seen a huge rise in the number of cases and younger people getting diagnosed with it. So there's a link that I've read about between insulin resistance and PCOS, right? So what is that? Like, what is the correlation?
Well, high levels of insulin. So basically, insulin resistance is one of the root cause for PCOS. How does that work? Is one thing where the mechanism comes of inflammation. Okay, if someone has underlying inflammation, that can also trigger this pathway. Another thing, there's an axis which is called as HPO. That is hypothalamus, pituitary, and ovary axis. So in this axis, what happens is GnRH, which is our gonadotropin releasing hormone, it secretes FSH and LH from the pituitary gland. Further, it works on ovaries to produce estrogen and progesterone. This is a normal occurrence. Now, in PCOS, what happens with insulin resistance? There's hyperandrogenism. That means high androgens in the body, which are testosterone. And that is one of the reason why women feel like they have facial hair.
So all the PCOS symptoms that are there, mostly it's because of high testosterone also.
High testosterone levels. Now, this high insulin levels will also trigger high SHBG levels, that is sex hormone binding globulin. Along with it, it also leads to hyperandrogenism. Now, this high androgen levels inside the body in turn is going to stop your ovaries from ovulating, which usually happens around day 14 of the cycle. Now, if the ovaries are not ovulating and there's no release of egg, your body is not going to experience menstrual periods. And this can also be one of the potential cause for infertility in some of the women, because if there's no egg, the ovulation is not going to happen.
So again, going back to your point of infertility that you mentioned, so we've also heard a lot about it, and we teach this in our academy as well, that stress is a root cause behind a lot of reproductive issues, and that includes your hormonal cycle getting disrupted, includes infertility, includes ovulation as well, like proper ovulation. So what is the correlation here?
Now over here, there's HPA axis that comes into picture, which is again your hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenal axis. Now with stress, what happens and the lifestyle that we are exposed to, there's constant release of cortisol inside the body. This cortisol in turn triggers your HPA axis. Along with it, it also impacts your HPO axis, that is hypothalamus, pituitary, and ovary axis. This is an underlying issue where it is going to lead to anovulation also at some time in some women, and no ovulation. Anovulation is no ovulation. Or it can also lead to dysmenorrhea. So, yes, that is how stress is linked to it. And yes, so one should go ahead with stress management therapies for sure.
And this was one aspect that you explained. So we spoke about how hypothalamus, pituitary, and all these axes, that's literally a part of your brain, right? That affects your reproductive cycle. But then also what I love talking about always is the second brain of the body, which is your gut, right? So what is the correlation between gut and your hormones? Is there a correlation, first of all? And like I've read about this as well, that your gut health and your gut microbes can also affect your estrogen metabolism. So how does that work?
So definitely, there's a terminology where there are certain microorganisms in your gut that secretes beta glucuronidase, which is one of the enzyme that can reactivate estrogen inside your bloodstream.
Hmm.
So if you have higher concentration of these microorganisms inside your body, it is going to trigger the estrogen secretion because it is reactivating it.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a bad thing because that should not happen, because your body should have the amount of estrogen which has to be optimal. Anything excess or anything low is not going to stabilize your hormonal secretion because it gives a negative feedback mechanism loop to FSH and LH. So yes, this beta glucuronidase plays a major role, and hence that is how it is linked with gut. Furthermore, if you talk about leaky gut, for example, if I have to give one example of gut issue, this leaky gut thereby triggers the inflammatory pathways. And we saw that inflammation is one of the root cause of impacting the hormonal imbalances. So leaky gut leads to inflammation, thereby it stops the syncing of the hormones and the messaging of the hormones in between. And that is how it interrupts with the normal ovulation process, and thereby hormonal imbalances are meant to happen. So So your gut definitely plays a major role.
So it's not just the reproductive malfunctioning that's happening. Because I've also heard people say that, PCOS in general, it's not just the reproductive issue, it's also a metabolic one. So it's all in all, a lot of things are involved, right?
Yes. So metabolically, if you see, then there's dysfunction in your normal insulin and glucose metabolism. People usually tend to have high lipid levels in such cases. Inflammation is one of the underlying root cause for it, including gut infection. So this is all which is metabolic conditions or excess weight again. Often I've also seen people who are lean, but they still have PCOS. So I don't think so. Weight is like a major factor where we can say if only overweight people and obese people are going to have PCOS, it's vice versa also. So yes, it is a metabolic one, and hence treating it from the root is very important.
So, say for example, somebody is diagnosed with PCOS. Now, where do they start? Do they start with their diet, correcting that, or do they focus first on the supplements or exercise or getting their lifestyle right? Where do they start?
I would say it starts with everything. Okay, so diet plays a major role over here. So if I have to talk about diet, lifestyle, one very important thing is your circadian rhythm and blue light exposure. So talking about diet, I would say one should start with eating their breakfast, which is protein rich, and this should happen as soon as you wake up within 30 minutes of window. So it helps in your cortisol responses also. That is cortisol awakening response. Secondly, opt for foods which are not very carb dense or carbohydrate rich, because Indian diets are again going to be carb dense. So our main focus has to go on proteins and fibers. Furthermore, avoid all sorts of inflammatory foods, which includes wheat, dairy. Dairy is one of the major cause again. You also need to avoid vegetable seed oils, which can again trigger inflammation, and then the pathways that I discussed further. So yes, among food, that is major thing. If you talk about lifestyle, definitely establishing a good sleep schedule, avoiding late night binge watching, and avoiding junk. Moreover, giving rest and the time that your body requires to calm down is very important. Certain few things that you can do is like meditations, which will help calm your mind and it will help with stress management. Supplements also play a major role, if you ask me. For example, myoinositol is one of the known, and there are researchers that quote that myoinositol is very helpful in treating with PCOS symptoms.
Yeah, and supplements like inositol, I've heard it's good, like inositol that you're mentioning. Even adaptogens and all, are they good?
Yes, because that will help with your adrenal glands. So the cortisol responses, it will help with that. Furthermore, to lower down inflammation, you can include omega-3 fatty acids, which are very important. If we see infections are predominantly seen, then including zinc is going to be better. Often with PCOS, what I've found is usually vitamin D deficiency is very predominantly seen. And we being Indians, we are exposed to sunlight that everyone speaks about. But trust me, 80 to 90% of Indians are still vitamin D deficient.
Because half of us are scared of the sun.
Exactly, because sun might lead to cancer, right? Sunlight exposure.
And that's the whole thing. Ki matlab nature's bounty is just a fear now.
So that is also important. So vitamin D supplementation plays a major role. If not, just go out in sun. Just give your body that sun that it requires. So yes, that is about it.
And what about workouts, Saloni? Like, are we supposed to do like it's become very popular and common also that now women have started syncing their workouts according to the phases of their cycle. And is like people focus a lot on cardio, just on cardio. But strength training for a woman specifically, it's very, very beneficial. It's very essential. So, what kind of workout would you say is good for a woman during the different phases?
So I would say stick to strength training only, but do it under someone's guidance, because the trainer would know your capacity and strength to lift weights. For any women, strength training plays a very major role. And if you talk about cardio, I know women are nowadays getting into cardio, but light cardio exercises are very important, because excess amount of cardio also is going to spike up your cortisol levels. Thereby, it is again going to play a kind of jumbling thing inside your body in terms of hormonal secretions. So yes, definitely no excess amount of cardio. You can focus on strength training for some days and the week, and 1 or 2 days you can just give it to like yoga, a simple kind of dancing or aerobic exercises, which will help calm your body and it won't be in stress. Just remember, if your body is constantly under stress or constantly under some kind of fighting mechanism, your body's hormonal balances are going to be messed up.
And what I've also often heard is that when somebody gets diagnosed with PCOS, okay, and the doctor tells them that, I've been seeing these patterns and this is what I want to diagnose you with, or this is what your body is showing. What I've also often heard is if somebody is overweight, like you said, their first recommendation is ki 5% weight loss kar lo, and then your periods will come back to normal and you'll be fine. Is that what is actually true?
Yes, if someone is overweight, then weight loss is actually important that we need to do, because it all starts with excess amount of weight and inflammation that I spoke about previously. So even if we consider someone who is 80 kgs, and if you just think about 5% of weight loss, it's just 4 kgs. And if someone is bound to junk foods, irregular sleeping patterns, they have blue light exposure, then their body is going to mess up more. So yes, for overweight and obese people, definitely weight loss is very important. On the contrary, if you talk about lean people, weight loss is not going to help them for sure. But we have to make sure that we are going under weight management techniques rather than just focusing on weight loss for lean people.
So now, if I give you a case, for example, okay, so if you had to personalize a protocol of sorts for somebody who has irregular cycles, has acne, is also showing symptoms of insulin resistance through their blood work, we can see that. So, what would be the recommendations that you would give?
So first thing, we'll ask them to get the complete set of blood tests done, including the hormones, because that will give us an idea how much is the secretion. Also, here's a catch: you cannot test all the hormones at one time. Depending upon your menstrual phases, you should check for hormones. Now, main thing over here, I would first emphasize on the supplements and the food that the person is having. So, making sure that the person is having protein rich meals, including certain functional foods which are also going to be good in antioxidants, is going to play a good role. We will also look after their lifestyle, um, as simple as the white light that is there around. That can also impact your hormonal signaling and cortisol levels. So we'll check for that. If I have to dig in deep, I will go further with understanding their leptin and how leptin resistance is working, or if they need.
That's a whole different topic altogether. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's how your body works, right? It is a joint organ system. It's not like your brain working separately and your ovaries working separately. So, yes, that is one thing. So, for acne, basically, once we start working on the gut, the acnes are shown to improve. And
Even with an elimination diet, you see improvements happening.
with inflammatory foods removal, also, we see, and anyways, we are going to add anti inflammatory diets, right? So, that works around over there. We will also focus on a little bit on their exercise and meditation so that it calms the nervous system. And we will further, for insulin resistance, work on the portion sizes. Along with it, the meal timings also. So we'll emphasize like all the meals have good amount of proteins. Even if they want to snack on something, it will be protein rich snacks rather than just hopping onto some murmuras or some chivdas. And again,
ये तो आपने फिर भी better snacks बोल दिया. I don't think murmuras and chivdas are the first thing that people grab onto when they want to snack.
so, and everything homemade. Basically, that is what we would focus on.
So out of all the laundry list of things that you've given now that people can work on, if this is the case, tell me three things, three simple things that any woman can take away from this conversation that she can start doing in order to balance or actually start on balancing her hormones again.
Okay, so it's simple. First is focus on good quality protein that you eat. Okay. Secondly, work out well, because that is very important. And with lifestyle, work on the underlying issues and work on your stress management. That's going to help your body. So just move a little. There's no harm in moving around, right?
So don't be stagnant in your life or on your chair. Don't be stagnant is what she's saying. So move around, like get up. If even if you're working, get up and walk around a little. Talk on your phone if you have to. Just keep on walking when you do that, and exercise. That's very important. Okay, and I don't think I can emphasize this enough that post 25 at least, women, if not before, women should be focusing on strength training.
Yes.
Very critical, right? And I have been a person who does not like going to the gym. Trust me when I say this, I've been a sports lover. I can play outside anytime you want me to, but I cannot go to the gym. But because I've been reading so much about it, even I've started working on the strength training, I will. That is happening, but meet me in the next podcast. You'll see bigger dollars. But but it's very essential, okay? So just small things like don't keep blue lights around you, like even in your room, keep a warm lighting, keep yellow lights, even in your laptops, your screens, we have certain apps, exactly, filters that you can use to stop the blue light from actually coming. Stop using your phones before bed.
There's also glasses that you get.
So glasses, right?
Blue light blocker glasses is something that you get. So, yes, and one more thing, very important and crucial, switch off the Wi-Fi at night.
Yeah.
Do not be exposed to it.
Simple step, just off. Before sleeping, just switch it off. And that's it. Small, simple, basic steps that I think anybody can start working on. And for this, you don't even need your blood work.
Yes.
Just do it. Nike. So, with that, we come to the end of the knowledgeable session. And now we start with the fun session, which might be fun for you, but it's not for us. And Saloni, you will just be witnessing it now. First party witness.
Yes.
So, let's go.
In for it.
Okay, now what are the shots here? First, we have the lemon shot, we have the haldi shot, we have the salt shot, we have coffee shot, and of course, we have the sweet little mirchis.
Definitely not sweet.
Needless to say, they love to torture us, so it's very concentrated versions of each thing. So, rab rakha, guys. Rab rakha. Chalo.
Antioxidants तो मिल ही जाएंगे.
पियो फिर. देती हूँ मैं आपको सारे. Who was first? Yep. LH, luteinizing hormone. Or for a very sweet welcome, I'll give you the mirchi first.
किस जन्म का बदला ले रही शगुन?
Har janam ka. At one point, she was my manager, guys, when I joined iThrive.
Yeah, I think she is taking that badla, guys.
Such a sweet moment right now.
इतना ही खा रही है.
बड़ा bite लो.
हो गया, बस हो गया.
Bite भी नहीं लिया. She's just taken, like, she's just given teeth marks to it. लो. Gulp it down. धुआं निकलना चाहिए.
I can't.
Karma works beautifully. I will never call my team member in this now.
This is not done, Shagun.
उड़ा देंगे.
Yes.
नहीं, she lost it because she gave the
मैंने
answer
yes
directly.
बोला, true and false थोड़ी. अच्छा ठीक है, चलो.
चलो, salt. As I promised to everybody, अब मैं डालूंगी मिर्ची पे नमक. True. चलो.
ठीक है. Still a better one. All the best to me, guys.
Next, if I get it right, I'll give her नींबू. Because अब वो मिर्ची खा ली, नींबू लगा देगा तो एकदम नजर बट्टू लगोगे.
तो उसमें हल्दी भी दे ही देना.
फिर आप छौका लगोगे.
अबे क्या यार.
Anti-Mullerian hormone. Yes. चलो. As per my promise, guys.
पूरा जन्म का बदला है इसका.
और बनो मेरे मैनेजर.
Still better. Just got vitamin C shot.
Good. Next, what would you want to have? अब ठीक है, these two shots I can take.
अच्छा, you can take. अच्छा.
But I will not. Mineral. Magnesium. It's helpful in everything. I just assumed it.
But she took a pause now. This is not
Did you answer?
She buzzed her earlier. No. But she took a pause.
चलो, इस बार you pick what your poison is supposed to be.
ले डालना.
बताओ क्या चाहिए? हल्दी डाल दो आप पे.
वैसे भी रेड पहना है, हल्दी भी डाल ही दे.
एकदम ऐसा लगना चाहिए ना कि तड़के पे हो आप. I am enjoying this one so much. Just relax. Just relax. चलो ठीक है, I'll give it to her because I'm just kind that way and I've given her the worst shots. So I can take the coffee one.
So it's estrogen and progesterone both.
Yes, guys. अब ऐसा हो नहीं
Yes,
सकता ना कि
Shagun.
मेरे
Cheers.
पॉडकास्ट में मैं एक शॉट ना लूं, so cheers to that. दिया है मैंने आपको ये आंसर, FYI.
क्या दिया? फील है अभी चल.
वैसे तो I've stopped taking coffee. अब मैं now this office will see the backlash of me taking a shot. So that was the end of our podcast today. And thank you so much for joining us, Saloni, and dressed in the color of red and talking about hormones today. For women, I hope you've been able to take away a lot of things. And how was it for you, Saloni?
It was nice, amazing.
Good, she's okay after these shots, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will continue with these shots for you.
I just didn't like that mirchi, but rest of it was still fine.
I love it. But thank you so much for joining in, guys, and see you in the next podcast soon. Stay tuned.